I'm just gonna jump straight to it. We're gonna be removing the windows from both passenger and driver doors off of my E46 M3 Coupe. It's the same for all E46 Coupe applications, so bear with me. But the reason I'm doing this is interesting to say the least. This E46 M3 originally, when I bought it, almost, or probably a little bit over 3 years ago now, had all of its windows tinted, but the two front ones, the passenger door and the driver door, were peeling very bad. So I removed them, and I've been driving around like that without tint in the front windows for a little over 3 years at this point. I've gotten a few quotes from a few different shops here locally. They all want, on the average, about $500 to tint 2 freaking windows. That's a little bit excessive. Over here, I have a V10 M3 that I'm building, same chassis as this, exactly. And ironically, the 2 front windows, they were actually tinted very nicely, so I removed them. The reason being is because I am opening this car up so many times and closing it, but because there are no borders, the windows just tend to slap, and I don't want them to break, so I removed the windows. Very easy job. And now I'm thinking, well, why not put those into my daily? That way I don't have to pay the $500 to get them tinted, and I'll still have my windows. So without further ado, welcome back to Yev's Builds, dude. Honestly, this is quite a simple job. These are literally the only tools you're gonna need. You're gonna need a prying tool to pry off the door cards, a EP7 size socket, 10mm socket, pliers, ratchet, T20, and a little flathead. Literally, that's it. Let's get going with it. I should mention, however, before you proceed with this job, you do want to disconnect your battery. However, in my case, you're not gonna see me doing that because, well, a little while ago, I actually had a BMW technician from BMW come through to do a recall on my car. He was replacing an airbag and he didn't disconnect the battery. And I asked him, why is that? And literally he told me pretty much it's a myth. So I'm gonna take my chances. If I were you, I would still disconnect it, but I really just don't want to reset all my time and date and all that. I know, and it's stupid, but I'm just doing that. It's up to you. If we're looking at the driver's side, first things first, we're gonna have to remove a few caps. There's gonna be one cap right here where the door handle is. Pry it out with some sort of flathead or something. There's gonna be an airbag cap right there. Also use a flathead, pry it out. And now let's remove all the bolts. Take your T20 bit. There's gonna be a screw in that hole. A screw in here, a screw right here, a screw right there, and a screw right about here. There's gonna be 5 screws total. Take your prying tool and start prying the door card. And now once you're in here, you're gonna have to undo a bunch of connectors. Obviously, there's gonna be the locking pin right here. Just pull that upward like this. That's removed. There's gonna be a speaker connector. So you're gonna remove this blue wire for the high-pitched speaker right here. There's gonna be a lower speaker right there. There's gonna be that wire. This one's actually pretty simple. There's 2 tabs. Push them together and it unlocks. This wire, however, is a little bit interesting because you kind of have to go into that. For you to pry this out, you have to be really careful. Use a flathead as well, but that disconnects as well. Or you could put your finger through this hole right here and push it out from the inside, just like that. And then disconnect this wire. So for us to actually remove the window and disconnect it and unhook it from everything else in here, we're gonna have to remove the airbag and we're gonna have to remove this little module piece right here. This module piece also has 2 T20 screws. You could remove those freely. Again, like I said, you might want to disconnect your battery if you're doing this, but I'm just taking my chances. I'm not gonna be disconnecting my airbag. I'm just gonna unscrew it from the door. That way we don't have to reset the airbag light or anything like that. Just like that, we're gonna scoot it to the side because we're gonna actually have to peel this insulation foam piece off because we're gonna have to lower the window just a little bit and unscrew a bolt from here and a bolt from that side. To remove the airbag without disconnecting it, of course, you're gonna need a 10mm socket to remove these 3 screws. And now that the airbag is free, I'm going to remove it very gently, very slowly because I didn't disconnect the battery, and I'm actually gonna lay it down on this little stool right next to me, just in case. I don't want it hanging by the wires. There's still slack. We're good. I'm gonna be very careful. But now we're gonna have to peel off this foam in order for us to access 2 bolts that are gonna be holding pretty much this entire window assembly. Now that we have this peeled off ever so slightly, I'm not doing the entire thing, I'm just doing it a little bit. You're gonna wanna put your key into the ignition and lower your window down just a bit up until you see a screw going through this opening right here. And there we go, there's that screw. This is gonna be an interesting size, and also this is gonna be reverse thread. That screw on the inside is gonna be an EP7 socket reverse thread. Remove this screw, and if you go up front, you're gonna see that little screw as well. Remove those and literally the window should slide out. So literally in this case, righty is loosey, lefty is tighty. And voila, you got the screw. On the front side, however, we're not gonna be able to remove the screw completely because if you saw on that side, the screw sat in this way, which means when you unscrew it, you can actually pull this thing out. But on this side, the screw is flipped, so for you to pull the screw out, it needs to go out into the door, which we're not gonna do. We're just gonna loosen up the tension pretty much that holds the window down, and that way we'll remove the actual window. That is loosened all the way. And now we're gonna come to the back of the door and we're gonna release this little rubber weather protection grommet thing. Take your little flathead, pry this sucker out just a little bit. Take your pliers, your needle nose, and pull. And now this whole piece pops right out, boom. And now we have access to remove the window. This hole right here is actually quite important because this window, we're not just gonna pull it up like this. We're gonna pull it up as much as we can and we're gonna slide it out that way. The reason being is because the bottom of the window, in this case, we're doing the driver's side, there's this big piece right here where the screw that we just unscrewed goes through, right? And it's a little bit bulky. We have to slide this out very carefully to get the window out and not damage anything. Just like that. Glass is removed, baby. And now quite literally, it's all back in reverse. Do not want to crease the seals on this because you're gonna need a new seal. There we go. Perfect. And now, let's tighten those bolts down, dude. Let's try this out. Razor. Yes, baby. We are good. And I mean, at this point, literally everything's just back in reverse. Be very careful with everything. Make sure every bolt and nut is tightened because you don't want to be opening up your door card just for a rattle to come through, you know what I'm saying? If you unplugged your battery to unplug your airbag, right now is probably not a good time to plug it back in simply because you just want to put it back in, do the other side, and you're good. Unless you're just doing one window. Dude, I keep forgetting that this is me just being picky and I'm doing this for the sake of purpose of the tint, but you're probably just replacing one window. Anyway, that is super simple. Well, and there you have it. This is how you replace windows on an E46 Coupe. Any of them, M3 or not, it's the same stuff, dude. Also, that's one way to tint your windows. But I think on this note, we're gonna close off. That's a pretty easy way to remove a window, in my opinion, not difficult at all. But dude, if you're into this kind of stuff, E39 M5s, E46 M3s, V10 M3, we're doing all this. So there's a lot of stuff coming, a lot of stuff coming. Make sure to subscribe. I know it's cliche, but it works, and I appreciate every single one of you. Peace.